Hello, folks. Today is Tuesday, August 6th, 2024. My name is Eduardo, and this is the 34th episode of Keeping It Realistic. By now, most of you know what the whole fuss here is about, but for those who are new, I'll gladly explain it once again. In this show, in collaboration with Chaos, we review some of the more interesting, more noteworthy projects shared in the Chaos Campus Facebook group within the last 14 days, talking about their strengths but also pointing out their weaknesses and even suggesting eventual ways to improve them. We also like to discuss general topics around the group and the visualization field as a whole, and this is why, usually in the beginning of the show, we take a look at some recent news, announcements, events, but also tutorials, sources of learning, tools, and things like that. And we do all of this as a live session so that you can actively participate in the discussions, interact with myself, interact with each other. So please don't hesitate to say hi, ask questions, voice your opinion, maybe suggest a solution to a fellow artist, give some advice, and generally be active. And with this out of the way, welcome everyone. I'm very happy that we get to hang out together again today. I hope the last 2 weeks have been good for you. I hope you are happy and healthy. If there is something on your mind, on your soul that needs to come out, remember you're here among friends, so you can always, within the show or after it, or as a private message, you can always reach out and just bring it out. Now, I see Ehsan already saying hi man, I'll talk about your work today. Before we begin, let me just tell you that Facebook is acting up very much today. It's showing blank pages, it's showing black pages without any content, pages that I had already opened, and then I tried to reopen them once again, and suddenly they're completely empty, nothing is shown. I have to refresh a few times until an image pops up. I don't know why this happens. Maybe I have too many Facebook windows open. This could be a possible reason, or it's my web browser. I don't know, but yeah, please bear with me on this. I don't find any solution in how to not let it happen. But yeah, that's everything that I have to share with you so far. So let's do what we usually do in the beginning and take a moment to appreciate today's cover image, the works for which were contributed by Ehsan. You're in the comments, man, saw you there, Eduardo and Brachia. For all three, it's a first feature, so special congrats on my side. And what brings those three shots together? Obviously, the beautiful central perspective, and of course that all of them are aligned at this top edge right here. It's just a matter of ordering things together. I really like how it turned out. I hope you do too. Now I'll show myself again. We'll make this small and we will take a look at the Chaos calendar. This is usually the first thing we do when it comes to the news part of our show. We take a look at what the calendar has to offer. Last time on the last show 2 weeks ago, it was almost empty. Here, now you can see it's full again. There are lots of events. Chaos will be, again, pretty much on tour. But all of the events here start with this free webinar. And I want to talk about it a bit. So if you click on this visit event page link down here, you'll land here at the page of the webinar, which is titled Mastering Realistic Interior Lighting with V-Ray. It's supposed to happen on August 20th at 4 p.m., which is exactly 2 weeks from now. At the same time our show starts. And this is a good thing because there will be no collision this time, because Keeping It Realistic will have a small summer vacation, so we won't have the next show. We'll have the one after it on, I think it is August 3rd. So yeah, there will be no collision. So next week, instead of watching Keeping It Realistic, you can actually watch this free webinar. It says that it is mostly directed at users of SketchUp, Rhino, and Revit because of the UI and functionality of V-Ray being very similar across those platforms. Personally, looking at the included topics such as intro to V-Ray lights, creating lighting variations with LightGen, working with V-Ray Sun and Sky, using HDRIs, artificial lights, and post-editing with LightMix, I find those topics to be pretty much universal, so I think this could be actually very interesting for all V-Ray users, not only the ones coming from SketchUp, Rhino, and Revit, but for them it's even more specific, which is of course great. So definitely recommend you this one, and I think we can go back. If you want to register for this, I can paste the link once again here. Can I? Yeah, my page is, I don't see, wait, let me refresh the page, because I just saw one comment, but I didn't see the option to write something myself. Now I pasted the link, it is already in the group, but in case you missed it, now you have it once again. So we can get rid of it and take a look at those events that I mentioned in the beginning. Again, Chaos is on tour, starting with the D2 conference in the end of August, August 29th and 31st in Vienna, Austria. I know you probably know D2, it's one of the largest gatherings of 3D artists worldwide. Is any one of you eventually going to be there? It would be awesome. I myself really considered it. I think in the end I decided that I won't be attending. But I'm not like 100% sure. So maybe in the end I can decide to go there. As far as I can tell, there are still some tickets available that you can buy. Of course, I know 420 euro, it's not really cheap. Let's call it like this. I know that in some parts of the world, this is a budget that a whole family lives on, maybe for a month or even two. So yeah, as much as I want to tell you, please go there. It's great. Networking is so important. I know that it costs money. Nevertheless, I think, at least in my personal experience so far, I have only been able to make money when I've invested money first. So maybe think about it. It's won't only going to be the Vienna event, the D2 conference. Afterwards, Chaos is going to be at the ZGraph conference in London. After that, the Autodesk University in San Diego, USA, the Green Build 2024 in Philadelphia. In November, Chaos is going to be again in Germany, in Munich, for the BIMWorld Munich 2024. And then in December, once again in Florida, USA. I know that some people in this group actually are situated in Florida, if I'm not mistaken. Manuel is there, Konstantinos is there as well. So maybe keep an eye on those. And if you have the chance, go and mix yourself with the crowd, because this networking in those events will definitely bring you forward. I see Amit joined us. Happy to see you, man. Glad you're here. Yeah, you didn't miss much. We just started, and now we'll talk about something else, something a bit more urgent. You probably remember this really nice initiative from THU, Trojan Horse is a Unicorn, and Chaos, called the Talent League Program 2024. We talked about it a few shows back, and I really recommended participating in this one. Well, there is this article I shared in the group. Here we see Claudio twice even, being totally in his element. The article is really great, depicting the whole thing. I picked out just those two sentences, which describe it really good. This free program helps young creators develop entrepreneurial skills, gather business knowledge, industry connections, and potentially secure funding. Eligible participants aged 18 to 35 can submit their ideas individually or as a team until August 15. So the deadline has been extended until August 15th. Initially it was July 8th. Now it's extended, so you still have 9 days if you want to participate. And remember, within those 9 days, if you now say, well, I have the time, but in 9 days I cannot create like a full-blown render or something like this, you don't have to. What you have to develop is just an idea and maybe some future plans about how you want this idea to evolve in future. And this is what you should present, this is what you should pitch to the jury, and if they decide that it is good enough, they will take you in the program, they will mentor you, they will help you a lot develop that idea. And the best thing about this, you don't have to do it on your own. You can do it as a team. And I think that in our group, in the Chaos Campus, there are more than enough talented people who can pull this off. So again, you have 9 more days. Please consider participating. There is the link to this article is already shared. So if you want to read it, just go back into the group and you'll find it. Talking about things that I shared, did you check out this one? Let's call it the Chaos Tool Finder or something. It's more or less a questionnaire that is supposed to help you find the best tool for your needs. I personally tried it out. I know some of you that are here today tried it out as well. And as far as I can tell, in my personal case, it said I need to use Corona, which I'm already using and have been using since the end of 2019. Most of you also got the software that they are already using, which I think is good in both directions. First, you know you're using the right tool according to the tool developers themselves. And secondly, it seems like this Chaos Tool Finder actually works properly. However, you can see here Mike, obviously the Viz Academy, they are teaching Corona. Mike got Corona, I got Corona, Fletson got V-Ray, Danish got V-Ray, Amit got Corona, which he's also using. So yeah, Amit says this is a dope thing from Chaos. I think so too. Of course, there were some interesting outcomes as well. You see here Danushka, who is actually a dedicated Corona user and really loves Corona, got V-Ray and Vantage. Also, Mariana, do I see her? Yeah. She says, for me, it was V-Ray, but I'm thinking to move to Corona anyway. So yeah, I'm really curious to know if something like this happened once I started filling out this questionnaire, because if you click on the link here that's shared in the group, you come to this questionnaire and you start answering questions here. And the moment I started, I was like, okay, what would I do if, let's say, V-Ray or Vantage comes out? Let's say if Vantage comes out, I would just add it to my Corona. But what if V-Ray comes out? Will I really consider changing my render engine? I still don't know to this day, but I wanted to ask you folks, would you change your render engine? Let's say Amit, du bist here, you are here, sorry, this was German, you're here now, you are a Corona user, but what if V-Ray came out? Would you consider moving over to V-Ray? Because I think, why not, on the other hand? I mean, the people at Chaos, the people who have developed these two, have actually know what they're doing. So maybe if you answer the questions as they ask them and it comes out that it's V-Ray that you need, maybe you should consider it. Or how about Escape? I mean, I shared this. Escape 4.1 is officially released now, which is pretty cool, honestly. I shared this in the group as well. Manuel here, he shared his insights on Escape. Because, even though most of us in the group are Corona and V-Ray users or Vantage, in the meantime, there are some people who actually use Escape commercially and others who experiment with it, like Fletson. And it was very interesting to read Manuel's opinion here. He says, agree, I use it to present concepts to clients. It's better alternative time-wise, but I haven't been able to get a professional look in it yet. Something I freaking love in Escape, and I hope Vantage includes this soon, is the option to share an exe file or a link for someone else to walk through the project, which is incredibly awesome and convenient. This is just awesome. Often I cannot count the times when I had to send like 100 images over for the clients to find the real angle or to test if everything is okay. So this option is absolutely amazing. Manuel continues, from my architectural side, clients love this, and for ArcViz it is great because I can send this to the client, usually another architect or a developer, a role model, and they can check if everything is modeled according to the specs, which is, again, absolutely amazing. As far as I know, the Chaos Cloud team is trying to develop this also for V-Ray, Corona, and Vantage. It would be awesome if someday we can just, share a link to a file and the client can walk through it like they do in Unreal or something like this. This would be awesome, but so far it is something which we only have in Escape. And honestly, thinking about the time, or looking, I'm not an Escape user, but thinking back about the time when I was an active architect, I really wish I had a time machine so that I can have Inkscape with me, because I will be using the hell out of it. It's just so convenient to for architects, for designers, for people who want to share a concept and not every photorealistic detail. It's just amazing. And now with the newest update, what you see here, there is also this option for artistic visual modes, which is absolutely amazing. I love it. It's great for presenting architectural concepts. If you don't want to concentrate so much on small details or the reflection of a certain material, but more on the general concept, the volumes, the I don't know, the space continuation, stuff like this, it is absolutely really great. It's an absolute quality of life feature, because according to my own experience here from Germany, some clients don't want realistic visualizations, or some competitions, they're even forbidden. Why? Because let's say you have different teams, and the one team is just a small team. Maybe they just became self-employed, and just one person or two people, and they don't have a massive budget, so they'll try to visualize their concept as good as they can with some Photoshop, and it probably won't look very great. At the same time, a big studio also participates, and they have massive budgets, so they can they can task one of the best visualization studios worldwide to visualize their concept. So in the end, you end up with the one studio, the smaller one, having this very basic visualization, and the other one having high-class glossy visualizations, which of course makes the playground pretty much uneven. This is why here in Germany, some competitions are prohibiting photorealistic visualizations, and they want stuff like what you see here. So on others, it's even counterproductive. When you just want to, let's say, explain your concept to a city council, and it's about urban design, city planning architecture, and you don't want to have those small details. If you render photorealistically, you need to have details, because this is what photorealism comes from, but sometimes you don't know them, or you don't want to get them fixed, and in these cases it is great to have something like this. So let me show Amit. I saw that you wrote something. I read it immediately, but yeah, let me show you a few examples from the beginning of my career, while I was still drawing visualizations. Here I was working mostly for an architectural office which specializes in urban architecture and city planning. And you see here a few examples of drawings that I did, or let's say graphical images that aren't photorealistic. And this is exactly as clients and oftentimes the people who made the competition wanted it to. Because as you see here, you can see the buildings, you can see the urban figures, but you don't need to know which color or what types of windows this window will have, because this will only distract you from the big picture. And yeah, I can show you tons of examples like this. I just picked a few on a hurry. Here one from a ground perspective. And once again, with a depiction like this, you have the freedom to have the border between your walkway and your green space with just a simple line. If you visualized it, you need some kind of a curb or some type of a metal edge that you have there. But once you have it, this is something that can be an own goal for you. Again, something which is counterproductive, because some architect may view this and be like, oh, you know what, this metal edge sucks. My 3-year-old daughter, we were once on the playground, and she tripped over this one and she fell, and her knee was bleeding. I don't like those things, and I don't like the whole concept now because of it. But with this level of simplification, you can actually let people only concentrate on what actually matters in this specific case. Of course, I can show you again tons of examples like this, but in the end of the day, this type of visualization is absolutely a legit one, and sometimes this is something what clients actually ask for, or something the people who from the city council or the people who make a competition also are asking for. They don't want realistic depictions, so having something like this is actually really a quality of life feature. Now I'll go to the comments. I see Amit says, I used V-Ray but got comfortable with Corona so much that even if V-Ray is out with some awesome options which Corona would never get, I still would not change. Well, legit opinion, absolutely. It says that's a nice representation, Theo. It really makes the idea clear and in simple terms. It definitely does. And sometimes it actually even has a bit more atmosphere to it. Like, take a look at this one. Obviously, it's not realistic. It's not really good. But if you take a look at this image, it's really very, very, very old. It's like, I'm not sure, probably 10 years old, 9 years old, something like this. But it has an atmosphere. It feels kind of cool, and it also is kind of unique when it comes to its visual style. I think it's a mix of hand coloring with digital coloring, SketchUp, and everything. But in the end, it turns out like something special, and you still have some flexibility if you need something like this. So it's legit. It's absolutely legit. Glad you liked it, though. Gatsper says, I'm curious whether there are any tools that enable you to create such a style after exporting an image from Corona. Well, with certain AI models, you can try to achieve something like this, but you have to experiment a lot. You need LoRa's, you need models. It's not like a simple click as you see it here with Enscape, where you just, you change from this one to this one or that one. What I really like is this, the black and white style. It's just my favorite one. I would use it all the time. It just looks amazing to me. It's really, really strong. It reminds me of the old architectural drawings that were done by hand. So yeah, definitely an interesting tool is Enscape. The more I learn about it, I saw a lot about it in Bulgaria during the Chaos Connect event. I'm following the news around it in recent times, and the more I learn about it, the more legit it is to me, and the more I like it, actually. And really, if I was an architect, especially if you're, let's say, a visualizing architect, somebody who's like in a small studio and you do all the steps, conceptual work, planning, and then you do the visualization work as well, I think that Enscape would be the right thing for you. But yeah, I think we had enough of news so far. It's already 22, we're already 22 minutes in, and we have still only talked about news. Time to talk a bit about learning. For this, we will check the Chaos Facebook page, which starts with a really cool project, which is done by V-Ray official certified V-Ray trainer Trim Silla. I don't know if this is a real name, but it's a cool name for sure. And what's even cooler is this project. I probably won't be able to show it to you because, as I stated in the beginning, yeah, this is what happens the whole time today. For whatever reason, I have absolutely no idea. I can imagine that it is just Facebook on a strike, that I have so many images open or so many Facebook pages open. I don't know why. Maybe it's my browser. I tried moving to Firefox, but unfortunately Firefox doesn't have those tabs that are very, very convenient for me, especially for the show. So yeah, for now, I can show you more, but you always have the freedom to go check out this Chaos Facebook page and check out this project for yourself. It looks amazing. Then we have a very short, small tutorial on what was this about? How to import changes that are made in Vantage back to 3D Studio Max, and it's really easy. It's done with a very appropriately coded button named import changes from Chaos Vantage. So let's say in Vantage you add a few new angles, some kind of animation, then you can import this back to 3ds Max, which I think is really, really convenient. Here we have the announcement about Inkscape 4.1, and here is a Vantage quick tutorial that I later shared in the group. It's on the topic of setting up image-based lighting, sunlight, Cosmos HDRIs in Chaos Vantage. And I must say, I still haven't had the time to really get much into Vantage. I experimented with it already 2 or 3 times, but never had like a day or two to just really get into it. There are also some really good tutorial scenes that you can download officially and play around with. But just watching this video, I don't know, it's just that Vantage has made setting up your lighting such a cakewalk. Things that I used to spend literal hours or even days experimenting around with, like different HDRIs, what you see here. Now you can just drag and drop the HDRI into your scene and you immediately see not only how it looks like as a sky, but also what kind of light it produces. And I think this is simply amazing. I gotta love that. So yeah, but this is in the group. You can check it anytime you want. Next topic is a small quick tutorial by Konstantinos from Mesh Mastery. showing you how to select similar polygons within a poly object, which is a simple yet really, really neat trick. Now, in this specific case, you have 9 polys that you want to select. It won't take long to do so, but if you have a more complex poly object, it can actually be a real time saver. Also, remember folks that using tricks like this one, hotkeys and stuff like this, may only save you a few seconds here and there, but in the long run, those seconds turn into actual minutes and the minutes turn into hours. So it's really a good idea to know stuff like this. And this is not something only what I think, but this is something that was also more or less said during a webinar that took place last week from Autodesk called Top 10 Golden Rules for Easier Modeling. It was a really cool webinar that showed some neat time-saving techniques, but also a general approach to modeling. It was with Hagendelos, I'm not sure if I pronounce his name correctly, from Autodesk, and who you just saw here in the corner was Paul Neal, who's a power user for sure, somebody who has tons of experience. Here you see him in this field when it comes to 3ds Max. He's a 3D technical director, and what I really liked is he said he does almost everything with hotkeys because it's quicker for him. He oftentimes doesn't really know where the icon is for a certain function because he only knows it as a hotkey because it makes his workflow quicker. But also the other thing, what I really liked, what he said was he uses all the tools that are presented in the 3D software that he's using to the maximum. And sometimes people come to him and say, oh, you cannot use this skin modifier in order to make a fishing net. It's for skin, it's not for fishing nets. And he says, no, it's just a modifier, it's a tool, and I'll use it for whatever I please, because as long as it serves my purpose, I will use it. And I found it to be a really solid piece of advice. Don't limit yourself just because something says it's, let's say, to be used for whatever. Let's say V-Ray hair and fur in Rhino. Back then there was we didn't have any scatterers V-Ray for Rhino, so I used V-Ray hair and fur as a substitute of grass. So just do the best with what you have at your disposal. And this link I will gladly also share with you in the comments because the video isn't that long. It's around 55 minutes, but I think that there was some really good stuff in it. And with this, after half an hour, I think we've had enough of campus news and campus learning. Georgi joined us. Hello, man. Glad to see you in the live show. And maybe it's time to actually review some works. We'll start with Ehsan's work. I saw you earlier in the beginning of the show, Ehsan. I hope you're still here. Your work is the first one we'll be talking about today. We've only talked about one work of yours in this throughout the whole history of this show, and it was a very short and quick review. And given how active you've been recently, and you are recently, I think maybe it's time to take a closer look at one of your projects. So yeah, let's hear what you have to say about it. It says Bedroom Design Visualization in Design by Ehsan. So, well, description-wise, this is not quite enough. It's good to know that it is your visualization and also your design. It's an important piece of information, but there are also some other important infos that are missing here, such as what is the background of this work? Is it a commercial work of yours, or is it maybe a personal exercise that you did in order to train certain aspects of your workflow? Also, which software combination did you use in order to create this? It really helps understand your project better. Also, what were your goals? What did you challenge yourself to? Remember, providing us with all of this information makes the viewers and reviewers understand and evaluate your work better. And I think this is something that you profit the most from. So please start doing this in future. As for the image presentation itself, however, I like it a lot. I think it's really good because we have 4 very consistent looking images and also 4 pretty different angles, which makes this presentation here interesting and makes the viewer want to actually click on it and enlarge it. In order to save us trouble with image is not appearing as you already saw it. I have already opened it. So yeah, we'll go through all 4 images very quickly to get a general impression of them, and then we'll start talking about the single points like modeling materials and so on. So yeah, let's do it. Let's go through all 4 images and see what we think about them. Kaspar says, totally agree with you. Modifiers are just tools and so are materials to some extent. You may not have to use them the way they are ascribed to. Absolutely not. I have so often used, and I still do, I so often use, let's say, terrazzo materials for stuff which has some small structure to it that's visible and has a high contrast. I just scale down terrazzo textures and then use it for it, and it just looks amazing. So yeah, you just need to reach your goal, and whatever means it takes, as long as they're legal, of course, I think it's okay and even smart. So yeah, let's briefly go through all 4 images that Ehsan has shared here with us, and going through them, I need to admit that this is one clean, crisp work which looks quite good, which is showing a lot of your potential, dear Ehsan, both for the good and the bad. But we'll talk about this more later. Now, let's talk about the design. Of course, design topics are always a subjective matter. To me, personally, this looks like a truly nice bedroom. So yeah, you in the comments can also share your opinion. Do you like this one or not? Kaspar says, I use, for example, roof sheet metal for garage gate. Yeah, of course. Why not? Just make it work. Nobody cares how you made it work. You just need to make it work. That's it. So, yeah, design, subjective matter. Personally, I like this. I can imagine lying on this bed with a book, have the fire burning by my feet, occasionally taking a glimpse to the left, seeing the nice view out of my window. That's a nice thing to imagine. So to me, this is something which I like to see. The interior design, if we try to be a bit more objective about it, I think it's minimalistic without being boring or too monotonous. It still has its unique, distinct look, and it's also harmonious within itself. And it also seems rather functional, actually, with one exception, which is the bed being very, very close to those shelves here, rendering the bottom line and those two a bit unusable or very difficult to use. So maybe what you can do is take this whole composition here and push it a bit to the right so that you can have a bit more space here. What you can do and can actually look quite cool is if you extend it, this one shelf down here. Sorry for this ugly drawing, but I think you get the idea. If you extended it, then you have 2 different types of nightstands. You have the nightstands, which is a separate piece of furniture, and you have the built-in nightstand coming out of the wall, which will give your scene a very nice symmetry and make it actually visually exciting, in my opinion at least. So yeah, just move the bed a bit to the right, maybe extend this one, and then you have something pretty interesting. Regarding the modeling, I think it looks very solid. Both what you did, the part that you modeled yourself, but also the assets that you have chosen to go with. And talking about your part of the modeling, I really enjoy all those grouts and gaps and a spacer like this. I mean, let's talk about it. I know that for most of you, this is an absolutely insignificant detail and with absolutely no importance for the image. However, I wouldn't quite agree here. This is something what I like to call an architectural imperfection, and more or less this is similar to the wrinkles that we see here on the bed. So what is so good about those wrinkles? In real life, you actually don't like them as much because you want your bed to look tidy and nice. But in a visualization, we like them a lot because those wrinkles add realism. And it's more or less the same with a spacer like this. It's just a small, insignificantly looking architectural element, but it just adds this small touch of realism to the general construction and the architecture that we're depicting. So yeah, never hesitate to have something like this, to have the architecture that you depict actually be working and make sense, because the viewers, most of the viewers that will be viewing the images that you show them will be people who have already seen a bedroom, a fireplace, a kitchen, so they know how they look. Maybe they have seen the one at home, they have seen some at IKEA or somewhere else. So once you show them something like this, I think that they will be able to appreciate this, and their eye will be accustomed to seeing details like this, which will in turn make the image more realistic to them. So this was a small off topic, but nevertheless, this is really, really cool. Now, talking about the wrinkles on the bed, if it looks good from afar, but if we zoomed in a bit, you'll see that we can actually see some polygons. I don't know if you folks can see this, but yeah, there are some polygons here. Now it would be interesting to know which software you're using. So let's say if it's 3ds Max, I would say check if your Turbo Smooth modifier, maybe if you disabled it, or maybe if you can add an iteration. But now that you didn't write anything, I don't know what advice to give you in order to get rid of this. So this is why it's important to provide such informations in your description, so that we can then better provide you with better and most specific and more custom tailored feedback later. The next thing is this glass railing that we see here. Maybe I'll go to this shot. Now you have some partitioning here on the side and it looks very nice, but here you have just a big chunk of glass, which isn't very realistic. So my recommendation here would be to do some partitioning, maybe divide this piece of glass into 3 or 4 parts. It will add a bit of detail, some further reflections, and it will look better in the end. Also make your glass 3D. Currently it looks like it's flat, thin glass, and it has just some spacers here and there. Make it a bit stronger. A glass like this wouldn't hold if you, let's say, by chance kick it, it will just immediately break. So you need a bit of a thicker glass there. And the nightstand lamp, it looks nice, but it lacks a cable. I assume it's not a battery operated one, so just give it a cable and you should be set. Now materials, when it comes to the materials here, I think that they harmonize really well. We have a very pleasant color scheme. Everything fits to each other. We have those ground colors that match really nicely. Also, the color scheme, the color palette chosen here really nicely suits a bedroom. Bedroom is a place that we go to wind down, so we don't really want strong bold colors, more something down to earth like what we see here. So a great choice of colors. Also, the textures themselves look really, really good. You can tell just by watching how heavy and cold and hard these stone surface is, and how it feels different to the, let's say, the fabric of the bed or the wood on the walls. And this is exactly as it should be. Here, in this case, you have some slight texture repetition on the terrazzo. There are 2 ways to go about this. The first and simpler one is to simply, place it in Photoshop. So let's go Control N to create a new file, copy from the clipboard, and then paste your image in it. Press Control G in order to make a duplicate. And now let's just use the stamp tool here. I think it would be the easiest way to go. So where are the repetitions? I think some of the major ones are those 2. So I'll just take something out of here. No, this was way too close. And then I'll take probably something out from down there to cover this one. When I do stamp to post-production, I never do all the corrections on the same side. So the one correction, if there are, let's say, repeating elements like these black dots here, the one I will correct here, and the other one I'll correct on the other side. So I'll correct this one like this. What do we have more? We have maybe this dark dot here. So it's again the turn of this side. And well, okay, down here, of course, for this we can be a bit more specific. So we can go and select this area down here very quickly, and then we can go back to our stamp tool and then, I don't know, pick up something out of here. And yeah, that's it. Simple as that. So just within a few seconds, you removed all the repetitions you see in comparison to the original. So it is definitely very simple. Alternatively, you can always use UVW randomizer on your material. With terrazzo, it works great. You just need to check down the randomize each tile option and it will look amazing. Kama joined us. Great to see you, man. We'll talk about your work later, as you can see up here. So yeah, let's talk about the lighting of your work, Ehsan. The lighting works, nothing to write home about, but it definitely does the job. The indirect lighting is actually pretty good, both on this backlit wall and the fireplace as well. I really like the fire that's coming from the fireplace. It looks very authentic and also very nice to look at. This lamp down here, it looks like, you see how strong the contrast is here. It looks like the bulb is really emitting a lot of light, but if we take a look at the produced illumination, it's barely there. So maybe you need to fix this one and let this light create a bit more warm light here around the bed. Flatson joined us. Hello, man. He says, hi, now that I'm learning 3ds Max and Corona, I'll be able to get more feedback. Well, yeah, you have also already gotten feedback for Escape and V-Ray, so yeah, it's not really dependent on that, but yeah, of course, as a Corona user, this is obviously the software that I can help you the most with. Now let's talk about the framing. We started the first shot and here the framing is actually very good. I really like how you included this lamp without cutting off any important parts of it. It looks really, really cool. Same with the second shot. Including the bed in this shot is actually a very good idea. Let me explain why. A lot of artists would remove the bed for this shot in order to show this whole fireplace situation, which in my personal opinion is actually a big mistake. Why? Because if the bed wasn't here, we will get a wrong depiction or a wrong idea of the dimensions of this space. We would probably be thinking that because we don't see the bed in the foreground, there is a huge gap between the fireplace and the bottom part of the bed. Alternatively, if we don't see the bed, we can also assume that this part isn't really nowhere near the bed, but some other part of the whole apartment. So leaving the bed here is the right thing to do. It establishes a visual connection between different parts of the spaces, and this is, once again, in my opinion, this is the right thing to do. Next, we have another good example of establishing visual connections. This time we have the bed that we already know well, and we have the view from it and also the two-story space it is situated in. And finally, we have this shot, which is definitely very informative. The horizontal cropping of it is also very good. The vertical one, I think that in a situation like this, you can gladly cut the cropping like this without losing any of the atmosphere, mood, or balance of this composition. And this is what I would recommend you. But the main issue here is actually lies somewhere else. I know that some of you who regularly watch the show will know what the issue here is. It's the light the light source, the main light source of the scene being behind the camera, which results as every so often in a flat image which is lacking depth. This is the case here as well. So what I can recommend you to do in a case like this is actually to do an evening shot. It's actually when most people use their bed and bedrooms. It's the evening anyway, so I think it will make a lot of sense. And actually you can do evening shots on almost for all 4 shots that you have represented here, because you have a lot of artificial light sources that I think will be enough to deliver nice lighting for an evening scene. What you can also do is put down the whole cropping, the whole framing, so that you show what happens on the first floor of this apartment, because we don't see it on any of the shots. Now let's talk a bit about the background. Initially, the works that you started sharing didn't have a background outside of the windows or the glazing. It was just white void. And we're very glad to see that you changed this, because background just makes for more realistic final outcome of renderings. It's simple as that. First of all, if any of you would look out of your windows right now, as I do, you see something. Even if you're in the 100th floor of a skyscraper, you will at least see some sky, some clouds. Even if it's let's say, very cloudy, or if it's foggy, you'll still see some volumetric depth, but you'll never see just simple white void. And I think that this is of course very important. And the second thing is literally the way this background reflects on the inside and refracts as well. Just take a look at the reflection here on this railing. With a white void on the outside, this would look fake. Now, with an actual something to reflect, this looks quite awesome. Same goes with the reflection and refraction of the lamp here. And one last point, it is your logo. We already talked about this the first time we talked about the work of yours within this show. A group member has already told you that your logo is distracting. I also said the same. So yeah, this is the second time I'll mention this, and I'll never do it again. So putting your logo doesn't really make so much sense if you ask me. So I won't take this example where your logo is placed against the plain wall. I will take this one where we have some gradient, where we have some architectural elements that the logo is placed atop. And let's see if, let's say you're trying to protect your work with your logo so that it doesn't get stolen. Let's see if it works. So I'll just copy once again your work over here. Place it here top. And what I'll do next is I'll just mark this area and use generative fill on it. I don't even prompt anything. So if you outline an object that you want to have removed from your scene, or do what I did here, don't prompt anything, and then generative fill will remove it. So let's see if it works, if your logo can actually protect your work. Of course, this was a bad example, but the second version of it, you see the logo is gone, the gradients are there, the wall is there, everything is there. So no, it just doesn't work. What you can do, you can try to add a watermark instead. If the goal is to protect your work, you can just take 2 lines. This is the simplest form of watermarking. You can just take 2 lines, diagonal lines, and draw them like this, and then give them some transparency so that your work is still visible underneath. And yeah, as you can see, this is way more difficult to remove. I don't know if the quality is enough for you to see this, so I'll go with 20% transparency so that you can see. So yeah, this is more difficult to remove, and this will do a better job in protecting your work from being stolen, because unfortunately things like this happen. And if you still want to promote yourself within your images, then I recommend using a way more subtle logo, which is mostly transparent or white, or just small and subtle, maybe your Instagram name or your website or whatever, somewhere where it doesn't bother. But as you can see, this one is actually better than having this logo, because it's big, it's colorful, and it kind of becomes a part of your compositions, and you actually don't want this to happen. Okay, enough about this, and I think we're at the end of reviewing your work. In conclusion, I would say that going through those 4 images and also some of your other projects, it shows that you are capable of delivering good quality work. However, it seems like instead of going for quality, you prefer to go for quantity, which kind of devalues your work because it becomes inflationary. You just go into the Chaos Campus. Maybe we can take a look at this if it works, but yeah, here's a work of yours, and if we scroll down, we'll see another work of yours, and then another one, and then another one, and at some point people start getting bored of it. Here is another one, and soon after there is another, and at some point people are like, oh, it's just another work by Ehsan. I won't even take a closer look at it. It's just him again. And I think it's a pity if something like this happens, especially if you actually offer a pretty decent quality with your work. So my recommendation in general is to reconsider your point of view, and maybe because it seems like you have the passion, you're willing to put in the effort, you also have the time to do so. It seems like you're mostly doing works like these on a daily basis, which is again a great exercise. I already told you this in a post. But why not go big? Why not really decide to make, let's say, make a villa, do the exterior, then do the full interior, then present the villa in different lighting moods, then try out different photographic approaches, different cameras, do a 360 panorama tour in the villa, do some animations within it, try out Vantage on it. You can do so much. Of course, it will take longer than a daily exercise. It won't be a daily exercise. It may take a month. It may take even a few months. But I think that if you came back with a project like this after a few months, you will earn back the attention and the respect of your fellow artists who are, I assume, now a bit bored of seeing a new project of yours, simplistic project of yours on almost daily basis. So, of course, in the end, you do you, but I just to really wholeheartedly recommend you a different approach, because I think you have the skill and you have what it needs to actually make stuff which gets a lot of attention and a lot of positive feedback. But because you decided to go for those simple daily exercises instead of something more elaborate and more complete in the end, you're not getting the response that I think you're hoping for. So yeah, again, in the end, you do you, and I really wish you all the best with whatever way you decide to go with. And now let's move on to the second project, which is the behemoth for today's show. On almost every show, we have one very, very large project. This time it's one by Eduardo Roca, who is trying to get the record for the most images shared within the limits of a single project, because altogether it's like 29, 30 images we talk about here. Let's see what he has to say about it. I made a screenshot of this, because if I click on his project, this is what I get. I think this is the site of his studio, and this is where he shared the project from. So, yeah. Hola a todos, les muestro mi reciente trabajo realizado en Corona. I don't speak Spanish, but yeah, this is Eduardo's recent work done in Corona, and he's happy to get feedback. So yeah, given your software combination, giving also stating that you're open for criticism shows a great attitude on your side. This is pretty awesome. But similar to Ehsan's work, the rest of the needed info is actually missing. So the project name, the background of this project, is it commercial? Is it a personal exercise? Judging by the project itself, I assume it's a commercial work, but you never know. Also, how about your goals, your struggles? Once again, with a huge project like this, which includes very different types of visualizations, exteriors, interiors, 3D floor plans, a bird view with photo montage. There are so many things that you can tell us about it that would be really, really interesting to know. So please do this, and also please do it in English, because similar to me, not everyone in this group speaks Spanish or Portuguese and understands what you write, and our official language is English. And one last thing, please be less self-promotional. You have your Instagram link and your Facebook and Behance. The Chaos Campus is more of an educational community. You won't be getting clients here. Of course, maybe somebody may want to collaborate with you or something like this, which has already happened in the group. Last time we talked about a project like this. However, I think that if somebody wants to collaborate with you, they'll just simply click on your name and then, reach out to you with a personal message, send you a friend request, something like this. So please be less self-promotional. Just one link is enough, your Instagram, your website, whatever. And instead, write more about the project itself, because this is something everybody profits from, the whole group and you the most. As for the image presentation, however, there I must say that it looks absolutely awesome, because we have great variation. We have 2 exteriors, we have 3 interiors, but or 3 exteriors and 2 interiors, but they're different interiors. One is living, the other one is the reception area, which is great. And despite those being really different types visualizations, exteriors and interiors, we still have absolute visual consistency, which is really amazing. Now let's take a look at those images. We'll go once through all 29 or 30 images. And while doing so, I think everybody viewing this can agree that this is a huge amount of work that you needed to pull off. And I think personally that you managed to do so, keeping a constantly high quality and a very, very solid visual consistency, which from my point of view is really remarkable. Now, once again, we don't know much about the project itself. Of course, let's say it's not a commercial work, it's a personal exercise. This would change the perspective, of course, a bit. It also, if it was a commercial work, it of course makes a difference. Is it done by one person, or is a huge team behind those images? Same with the time span that these images were created in. Was it like 6 months, which the work is still good, but it won't be as impressive as if it is done, let's say, in a week. I assume it's somewhere in between, but nevertheless, the more information you provide, the better your project can be evaluated. Nevertheless, I think it looks really, really good, and yeah, respect for all the amount of work that you managed to pull off in this high quality. Now, obviously, you see we're still clicking through the images, even though I've been talking for 5 minutes now. So we cannot review those 30 images in detail. What you can do instead is group them in different categories and talk about said categories. So the way I decided to group them is exteriors, interiors, terrace shots, 3D floor plans, and the bird view integration. So we'll start with the exteriors. All in all, we have 3 of those: the central perspective, the side view, and then the central perspective of the entrance area. What sticks out the most to me from those images is the framing, the lighting, and the general atmosphere of them. So let's start with the framing, especially with the first 2. It works great. We have some sweet natural framing on them. On the third one then, we have this nice central perspective on the entrance area, which is kind of leading us into the building, where then we are confronted with tons and tons of interior shots, which I'm not complaining about. It's just the way it is. Now let's talk about the lighting. Lighting is a major quality of this work, in my opinion. First of all, we have this very nice contrast between the warm interior and the kind of coldish exterior illumination. This makes the image really exciting to look at. Additionally, we have this randomized interior illumination when it comes to the intensity. You see some apartments are really brightly lit, others are a bit more dim, third apartments are like very dim, and the fourth don't have any illumination at all. And this makes, of course, for a very lively and authentic appearance of the facade. You seldomly see, if it's not a hotel, for example, you seldomly see a building which is absolutely evenly illuminated, with every window being exactly the same. And also generally, talking about the lighting, it creates a very pleasant evening atmosphere. Now, before I move on to modeling and materials, let me see what Amit has to say. In this project, which no doubt is beautiful and great, but there are some fireflies on certain textures, which lets down certain image. Hope that gets corrected for awesome outputs. Yeah, of course, there are some issues here and there, but I think all in all, it's just impressive. Okay, let's continue. Modeling and materials, especially when it comes to the building itself, they look very decent. It's great that you modeled and you textured the surrounding buildings, because this provides some further local authenticity. And of course, one major point when it comes to a facade, especially a fully glazed one like this, it's the populated interiors. They make an absolutely huge difference, because with them, the building looks used, it looks lived in, which makes it very relatable for a large variety of viewers. Of course, the interiors are very repetitive right now. You can definitely bring a bit more variation into them, but even in the way they are currently depicted, because you have All those, come on, is it the word that I will be forgetting right now during the show? Yeah, curtains, of course, curtains. Because you have all those curtains in different positions, you have the different lighting, the interiors still look quite different. Okay, let's take a look at the last part, maybe the most negative part about the exteriors. It is the street space and the greenery in the foreground. It's kind of rudimentary, let's be honest here. I can imagine with all the work that was a part of this project, you just simply didn't have time for more, which is absolutely understandable. But nevertheless, to add to what Amit just said, it would be great if for the very final version that you add to your final portfolio or maybe print out at some point, you invest some further few hours and, add some curbs to the street and make a bit of a better asphalt material and generally improve the looks of these areas here, because it will elevate the whole quality of your whole work. Now let's move on to the second category, which are the interiors. First one is this registry, or not registry, how is this called, reception area, the main entrance of the building, which is of course makes a lot of sense to show first, and then once you're in the building you start showing different types of apartments, big ones, small ones, but also some public areas like this office, for example. What sticks out the most to me in a positive way here is the style consistency, despite the different sized apartments and even offices. You see how even though this is like one apartment, this is a different one, and then we have an office, somehow there is this awesome visual continuity in the style of the interior design within those images, which makes the whole set just feel harmonious. When it comes to the modeling and materials of your interiors, it's really visible how much effort you have put into those, how you've really strived to add variety. Every next apartment doesn't feel like a cheap copy of the previous one, like you got the same assets and stuff and you just move them over and push them around a bit. But instead, every new apartment or space has its distinct assets and furniture pieces, and even interior design elements. But still, there are some things like the color green that you have everywhere as a highlight. We will see it later also on the terrace areas. And what I really like to point out is how you really put in the effort to make your scenes lively and even add some storytelling. Well, this one is a great example for it. So you see this kitchen island with the counter where someone can just sit and have a drink or something to eat. So we have 5 bar stools here. 3 of them are neatly arranged, and the fourth and fifth one have been deliberately pushed aside. What we also have on the counter are 2 wine glasses and a wine bottle. So this area here immediately tells us a story. 2 people were sitting there drinking wine. Now they're gone. Maybe they moved over to one of the bedrooms. Maybe they went on a walk. We never know. We can only assume. But we have this storytelling. And with the amount of work involved into this whole project, I think that this is absolutely amazing to see that you still found the time to do something like this and tell some small stories here and there. Shows a lot of care, and a great attitude generally as an artist on your side, which is really cool. Mariana says, what about the very wide lens in these interiors? You mean very wide lens in terms of aspect ratio or in terms of focal length, like a very low focal length? Because we already have a very, very wide lens. So I wouldn't go for wider lens because then it will become overwhelming visually. Mariana says it's a very good work in my opinion, but what about very wide lens in these interiors? Yeah, I think what you mean is the very heavy FOV or the very low focal length, which yes, it leads to distortions. This is true. Somehow with the interiors, this doesn't bother me personally that much, but of course it's, if avoidable, always try to avoid it. But we'll talk about this topic later on when it comes to the terrace visualizations, because there it is partially really over the top. Now let's get back to the materials topic. Other than that, I would say materials are very harmonious, have a pleasant color scheme throughout the whole project. And a smart move here on your side, let me get a good example of this, is how you are the carpets. So the carpets have very similar base material, as you can see here, but based on this base material, you started adding some colors and patterns, which made the different carpets in different spaces still have their distinct looks to them. But at the same time, the main pattern of this fabric still stays the same, which on the other hand harmonizes the looks between the different spaces, which is a very, very smart move. Now, when it comes to the interiors, to the lighting of the interiors, I really like it. This one is a good example because on most shots you have a combination of natural lighting coming from the windows and artificial lighting from all of those light sources that you have scattered on the inside. And this results in a properly lit interiors. This is important because the viewers want to see what you're showing them, but also at the same time beautifully lit interiors that are atmospheric. Just take a look at those beautiful lights on the floor down here, and also visually exciting, because also in the parts where there is artificial lighting, we'll still have some beautiful highlights and shadows and tonal contrast, which is really cool. Of course, with all this amount of work, there surely are some issues. Amit mentioned the lighting artifacts that you have here and there. Of course, you wouldn't have the time to do everything in great detail. Here, for example, I think this scene lacks a bit of decoration. If this is not some type of an ottoman, but a table instead, I would put maybe a magazine, some kind of a vase on it. On other shots, I think, let me find one. This one, for example, you have this lamp here and the cable is hanging down, but it's not plugged in a socket. Then in the kitchen here we have this very repetitive texture, which is immediately visible, and I don't think this is the way you wanted it to be. And later on we have this bathroom, which also looks very rudimentary and not really that inviting. But honestly, especially given the scale and the amount of images that you have delivered here, this is really minor stuff, and all of those issues that I just pointed out aren't enough to put a shade on everything that is great about those images. Now let's move on to a very, very interesting topic. I see Abdi joined us. Hello, man. Glad to see you. It's the terrace shots. What's so special about terrace shots? Well, in my opinion, they're quite tricky because they're a mix between interior and exterior shots. And in this case, I think you did a really good job with them. First of all, it seems like you worked with a 360 panorama of the actual surroundings of the building, which first of all is always a great idea because it provides a lot of realism and local authenticity. And also it makes the building fit way better than with some, random other surrounding. Now let's talk about the modeling and the materials when it comes here. And again, you did a very good job. There is a good amount of architectural detail here. The furniture, the assets make those terraces lively. A lot of times artists tend to just put some patio furniture on the outside and call it a day, but you still took the time to put a water jug or a water glass here and there, some wine glasses, a wine bottle, tableware, and this just makes those terraces feel lively and relatable. It's easy to imagine being there and actually having a good time. When it comes to the materials, first of all, the materials that are used here are very suitable for outdoor usage. I say this explicitly because from time to time I see some artists putting just wooden parquet or something like this on the outside, something which just makes no sense. But in this specific case, we have concrete, we have those outdoor rugs, and also outdoor furniture, and this makes a lot of sense. Also, we have those highlights, those green that green color that we also saw on the inside, we also have it on the outside, in combination with the otherwise mostly monochromatic color palette. So again, we have this visual consistency here as well. Now, my issue here, this is something which Mariana already mentioned, is that the FOV here is really over the top. So it seems like you worked with really, really low focal length values. And as you can see, this leads to massive distortions. Let's take a look at this terrace, for example. It took me a while to figure out that it's actually the same thing. So take a look at this terrace, and if you watch this angle, or if you take a look at it from this angle, you probably figure out that it is more, it has something like a square floor plan, so that it is as deep as it is wide. Here is a second shot of it, and then we have a shot which is under 90 degrees. And here you can see the terrace from a different perspective, from a 90-degree perspective, and you see how narrow it actually is. So it's not only the heavy distortion that is being caused by this heavy FOV, it is also the depicted areas start looking different than they actually are, which is actually visually deceiving. So in a situation like this, the solution here is that what we have is what you can do. First of all, don't go under 16 millimeters, or even better, 20 millimeters when it comes to the focal length of your cameras. Don't go under this, because then you have so massive distortions that everything starts looking really weird. And the second thing is, if you have a situation like this and you cannot solve the situation otherwise, then maybe go for camera clipping, or maybe try to simulate a drone shot. So just imagine that there is a drone somewhere here which is taking a photo of this terrace, and it can look something like this, and then you can avoid using such a heavy FOV. Amit says, can someone confirm that there is an audio lag? It is not in sync, or is it just me, or anyone else is also facing the same thing? Well, folks, is it only Amit? I hope so. I mean, sorry for that, but better only one of you than all of you. Personally, I cannot say anything about this, if there is a lag or not. I don't see any issues with the stream. The bitrate is actually quite high. The frame rate is very stable. So yeah, Abdi says there is a minor one. Kama says yes. Come on. Well, not sure what to do. It's probably either Facebook or, I don't know, the internet connection. Cannot tell you. We have good weather here, but sorry for that. I hope that it's not too irritating. So yeah, I think we had enough about the terraces. They're really cool, but you just need to make sure to go easy on the FOV of your cameras, because otherwise the depicted areas start looking really, really weird. Now let's talk about something else, something different, something that we don't talk as much about. The 3D floor plans. So personally, I find them pretty cool because they are very informational. They nicely present the layout of the different apartments. Also, in your specific case, they are not overfilled with some small details, which makes them easily readable and understandable at first glance, which is good. At the same time, they're not lifeless. I mean, sometimes there 3D floor plans like this are so sterile that they don't look inviting at all. In your case, however, we still see here and there some small details, some wall art, and it makes the images look homey and inviting despite not being that realistic. Danushka says, rejoin guys, that should solve the problem. Well, you can easily rejoin, folks. Just do it. I'll wait for you. You won't miss a lot. I'll take a sip of water in the meantime. So if you want to, you can just leave the live event, and then you can just rejoin if you're able to. If this solves the issue and it would be better for you, that's okay. Amit says, I can manage with the glitch. I hope so, but rejoining is also a valid option. Now let's get back to those 3D floor plans. Generally speaking about 3D floor plans, I think that having them helps a lot with better understanding the project, obviously, and also with having better orientation among the visualizations to, let's say, a certain apartment. However, in order for all of this to work, you gotta place those, let's say, this 3D floor plan before the respective visualizations of that apartment, because now I see the 3D floor plan and then I click and then I see another one. And if I want to see an image, an interior visualization of this apartment, I gotta go back like a lot in this case until I see this, which is a bit of a close-up from that apartment, and then I gotta go even further back until I see the actual apartment. And this, of course, doesn't really make a lot of sense when it comes to ordering your images. So what you should do, I think, you should take the 3D floor plan and place it in front of this image. So first I see the 3D floor plan, I or the viewer sees the 3D floor plan, and next they start seeing interior shots from the apartment that you've just showed them as a 3D floor plan. And of course, it would be also great if you had such floor plans for the offices as well, because now there are only plans like this for the apartments, but not the offices. And with this, I think we're through with the 3D floor plans, and we can move over to the last category, which is this bird view. Now, this bird view I would call a very good photo integration, and easy proof for this is that you don't immediately see the building that has been integrated. Which means you have finally matched the perspective, the general illumination, and the tonality of your rendering to match the picture you're putting it into. Of course, here one could argue that the composition is off if we don't immediately see the object of interest, which is actually a valid point, but in this specific case, I assume that the idea, the goal of this photo match, or of this how do I call it, photo integration, is a bit different. I would argue that the goal here was to show the new building as a part of a certain urban rhythm. So we have the 3 big buildings, and then we have the 3 small ones, and all of them make something like a circular form, and this is what I would call an urban rhythm. And I think that having our building as one of those makes sense seen like this. Now, what doesn't make sense and doesn't look good as well is the soft shadow that the building produces onto the roofs of the houses here. At first, actually, I thought that it is drawn by hand in paint or something like this with a very soft brush, because it looked kind of bad. But then I saw that it's probably an actual render pass, but with very soft shadows. And this is obviously a mistake, because if you take a look at the other shadows that you see here, they are very, very sharp. So what you need to do here is you need to re-render that shadow pass once again, but this time having a size multiplier of 0.1. Of 1.0 on your sun, so that it produces really, really sharp shadows that will fit the rest of the shadows that are depicted here. Or solution 2, you can of course draw this freehand directly into Photoshop, but you need to do it very precisely. And with this, we are actually through with the Behemoth project for today. That's everything I have to say about it. I think that despite some small issues here and there, it is a truly impressive work. And I think that if you keep this constant quality of yours, your work ethic, and your general attitude, I think that there will be a very bright future in front of you and your studio. So good luck with that. I will close this now so that we have less windows open, and we will continue with Brachia's work. I don't think he's here today, but nevertheless, he can watch the recording later. Folks, how is it? Is it getting worse? The audio quality and this latency, or is it okay and you can deal with it? In the meantime, while you're answering, I will read what Brachia has to say about his work. Hello, my latest work, bedroom, Chaos Corona and Autodesk 3ds Max. Well, it's not really much that you're saying about your work. Similar to your predecessors, it's great that you mentioned the software combination, but still gladly tell us more about if this is a commercial work, your goals, your struggles. It really helps better understand the project. Abdian Amit says same but manageable. Well, folks, again, you can just disconnect for a moment and then rejoin. Danushka says that this will solve the issue. So if you want, do this. If not, then let's just bear with it. As for the image presentation here, however, I find it to be really, really sweet. Personally, I never learned how to do this type of array in Facebook, but I must admit that this prolonged portrait format really complements your work. So it was the right choice to go with it. Now, let's take a look at the single shots and get a bit of a general impression for this work. To me, after going through all 4 shots, it is a great looking work. It's not really surprising. Brachia is actually a skilled artist. I know him from the VW Art Club, but nevertheless, a good work is a good work and it still deserves its praise. So let's start reviewing this by talking about the design. In this case, I'd classify the design as a Parisian style, and I decided to mention this explicitly because I don't want us to only talk about the same topics on every work. I want us to also learn something new through each show, and in this case I found it great to talk about this certain or this specific architectural interior design style. So what is typical about the Parisian style is that it is combining classic architectural elements such as moldings, for example, with more contemporary furnishing style. I can show you a few examples. Here you see pretty much the same, just done in a different way. So we have the moldings on the walls, and then we have those, and also on the ceiling, and then we have those contemporary design elements with the bed, the nightstands, the lamps. And it's actually quite a neat style. I like it a lot personally. This is why I decided to also share with you an article. It's from Martha Stewart. You maybe have heard his name. Not personally written by her, but it seems quite well researched with a lot of nice examples that you can see here. So I'll share this in the comments. And again, you know my opinion. It's important that we not only know how to do this and that when it comes to, you know, the practical part of our work. I find it also important that we're knowledgeable when it comes to theory. And this is why on almost every show I try to find some topic that I find an article to, and then I share this in the comments. And those of you who are curious or interested in knowing more, in you know, having more knowledge, can of course take a closer look at this. Now, going back to Brachia's work, again, I think we have a very nice example of this Parisian style, because we have this exciting mix of those very ornamental old school moldings and these sleek modern elements like the lamps or the TV, for example, what you see here. So this is cool. Now, objectively seen, it also looks quite classy, but this bedroom is also functional. You have the bedroom part where people sleep. Then we have the closet, which is integrated in a niche by the main entrance. Then we have the opposite wall with the entertainment area with the TV and also the makeup table. So there are lots of functions within this not that huge space. Talking about the modeling here is absolutely on point, and it definitely should be, because architectural details play a major role in a design like this, and they are accurate. This portrayal is actually pretty much essential. So we have all those moldings here, and they need to look great as they do. I think Brachia did an amazing job here. Just look at all of those details on the moldings. They look absolutely amazing. Love them. And actually all the assets that Brachia has chosen to work with as well have nice quality. They fit into this architectural style, and it's awesome to see. The only things that bother me a bit are the size of this poof here, because it seems quite overscaled, especially in comparison to the Ottoman here by the bedside. Maybe it's some kind of a bar poof, a higher one, I don't know, but it's maybe check the size of it, the Brachia. The next thing is the thickness of this carpet or rug. Never actually figured out the difference between those two words. Let's say it's a rug, it's quite thick, and the way it is depicted now, it's a bit of a tripping hazard. So just make it thinner and they should do the trick. And one last thing, it's a personal issue, absolutely gotta admit this, but please don't put stuff on books. Oh, Ahmed joined us. Hello, man. Glad to have you here. Don't put stuff on books, please. Why? Because in my opinion, this develops the books, turning them into simple decor elements, something like small pedestals to put your, alarm clock or vase on. And to me, this is the very wrong message. Books are meant to be read, discussed, talked about, but not as small interior design elements. Unfortunately, the way our society is nowadays, a lot of people buy books that only fit their interior design optics and not because of the contents or whatever. They probably buy Mein Kampf by Adolf Hitler just because it looks nice in their on their shelf or something. But yeah, at least for me, I try to never put stuff on books out of respect for this medium. Amit says, nice point about books. Glad you agree and glad you were able to hear me. I wasn't even finished, so the latency doesn't seem to be as bad as it seems. Okay, let's move on to the next topic, which is the materials. The materials look very nice here. Abdi says, oh, I've been using books as a hammer. Just kidding, agreed, books are books. Occasionally you can do so, but it depends on the book. Some books are rubbish, and yeah, you can use them as a hammer or put them under your table so that it's stable again. But yeah, it's just about the visual message on a subconscious level. But yeah, let's go back to the materials. The color scheme is definitely really beautiful. It's also quite typical for the Parisian style. You have white, gray, and beige. These are the major colors there. Also, those bright colors of the architecture make for a great contrast to those dark glossy elements, being the lamps and the TV, for example, and also the mirror. So yeah, we have some really nice contrasts here as well. The only issue I saw when it comes to materials is that we have some texture repetition on the baseboard and also on the wall board here, but that's not a big deal. You can easily fix this with Corona Mapping Randomizer. Amit says books are for reading and not basis for decor. This is exactly my point. I'm happy that you agree with this, because again, more and more nowadays I see books being not only in visualizations, but also on Instagram or in TikTok or Pinterest, people just buying books because they fit their interior design, not because they want to read them, or this is kind of sad. Okay, let's talk about lighting and framing. The lighting works. I think it's great that you decided to let some direct sunlight streaming in from the windows. It makes for a more interesting and dynamic look of the images. I also like the artificial light, indirect lighting in the closet, because first of all, it looks great, and secondly, without it, this closet I don't think it would look very exciting, very good, but with it, it's actually really a pleasure to look at. And it also provides a good feeling of depth of this entrance area here. While we're at the same angle, however, I have a small issue, because the foreground here, you see it's washed out. Why is it like this? You guessed it, it's because the sun is positioned behind the camera, so the main light source is behind the camera, which, as every so often, results in a kind of flat and image which lacks depth. What you can do as a solution here is maybe add a tree in front of the glazing, so that the tree branches and leaves makes for, first of all, some really cool looking and lively looking shadows, and secondly, they will darken those spaces here, but will still be letting some light in. You just get some depot shade here instead of this very uniform brightly lit areas on the floor and some of the furniture. Now, when it comes to the framings, to me, the first framing should be this one, because this is presenting the main part of the bedroom in all of its classiness, the bed. Second, then we have the bed still visible, and then now we are establishing a visual connection to the bedroom entrance and between the bedroom entrance and the main area, which is great. And we still have this chandelier here as a center of rotation. We had it here, now we have it here. And still with the chandelier being in the middle, we have the third perspective showcasing the view from the bed on the TV wall and the makeup table. Once again, right decision to leave the bed in and just blur it out a bit as a foreground with depth of field, so that you can actually show what people that will be lying in this bed will be viewing. They can see the TV and they can take a look at this beautiful wall here. And then the fourth shot, which is more or less something like an architectural close-up, which focuses on certain design details, but also the verticality of the whole concept. And that's it though, that's really fine, solid work. And if you ask me, I don't know what you guys in the comments think, but with these skills, I think that Brachia should actually aim higher, go for more elaborate, more complex projects, because he definitely has the skills to pull them off in a great way. And that's it for this one. I'll close this. I see Simone joined us. It's a pleasure to have you today here. Hello, man. We'll be talking about Kama's work next. Kama, I saw you in the comments earlier. So yeah, let's talk about your work. Let's see how you describe it first. Hi friends, I present to you my new personal rendering of a school. The modeling is done in ArchiCAD, the rendering in 3ds Max and V-Ray, and post-production in Photoshop. Hope you enjoyed, and again, comments and suggestions are always welcome. Amit says it's a lovely work by Brachia. I think so too. I think it was great. And sometimes if it's, let's say it's a commercial work and he just finished it, he's happy with it, he shares it, nothing wrong with that. But honestly, when I read his name, I know what he's capable of. I actually want to see even more, because I know that I'll be enjoying it and it will be good. So yeah, back to Kama's work. Obviously a really nice description. First one for today that explains the workflow, the type of project, and the third one, which also shows great attitude by being open for constructive feedback. The only info I'm missing here, dear Kama, is the project background and the general idea. Why did you decide to depict the school out of all things? And what were your goals? Was there something specific that you wanted to challenge yourself to or to train on? If so, gladly share this in the comments. Now, the general impression here, I really like this one. I love it actually, and this could be an actual photo. And now I think while reviewing, I think the interesting thing would be to see why this could be a photo. Is it because of the incredibly photorealistic building? I don't think so. I think it's because of the things that are closer to the camera being very realistic and subconsciously convincing the viewer that the stuff which is further away from the camera is exactly as realistic as what we see here closer to the camera. And I think this is the big trick that Kama has used here. Because sure, the modeling itself, it looks good enough, especially given the distance from the camera. We have a nice amount of details in front of and around the buildings. We have the parked vehicles, we have some landscaping, you see the trees, the shrubs, the perennials down here. We also have some urban elements suggesting functionality, like those lanterns, or let's say the quality of life usability, such as some benches. We have some people roaming around. So there is absolutely enough detail. But again, that's important. I mean, everything looks realistic, but I still don't think this is the major point here. Next, the materials, they definitely look nice, but again, I don't think they are the most important aspect here, even though I must admit that we have a very, very pleasant color scheme. It's the complementary red and green once again, which is this lovely type of harmony based on contrast, on color contrast. The lighting and the framing, now we're getting closer to, I think, the main qualities of this work. The framing, first of all, we have great cropping here, emphasizing the building's form, but also a balanced composition. Now, let's analyze the framing a bit and the cropping as well. So this will have the same, more or less, components of the image when the framing would look like this, right? We see older people, we see some shadows in the front, we see the grass field, we see the sky and the whole building, right? But it's a different image. And why is that? It is because when you frame it like this, you're saying this is a school and this is the school building. This is what this image is about. However, if you extend your cropping up and downwards, you're sending out a different message. Now this is the campus, the building, and the free spaces, the free areas where the students can go when they have a break or when they want to learn or concentrate or whatever, they can get out and enjoy. And I think that this composition is providing this very important additional room to breathe, so that we don't only concentrate on the architecture, but also on the whole scenery around it as well. And of course, we have this sweet natural framing with both trees on both sides, on both edges of the image. And maybe let's talk for a moment about, you hear me often speak about natural framing being a good thing, but why is this? My personal answers are actually 2 points. First of all, first reason is the natural framing provides an actual border to an image. Something like what you see here. Like you have this classical painting that depicts a natural fragment, and it still has like this massive frame on its sides. And the way I view natural framing is pretty much the same. It just gives us a certain type of frame. And the second thing is those two trees can be considered to be a fragment of a tree alley. Tree alleys that just immediately visually guide you towards a certain center or towards a certain point. No matter which out of those images you see here, they're always guiding you visually to a certain point, right? So now try to remove all the other trees and just leave the left and the right tree, and then you know what I mean. So, and this is exactly how I imagine this. By seeing the left tree and the right one, I also kind of subconsciously imagine all the other trees from the alley visually guiding me towards this center here. And so yeah, this is my personal explanation on why natural framing is actually pretty cool. Kama says, I chose this project because it's simple first, but it has a really nice design. Well, that's a good explanation. Amit says, Theo, with some clouds in the sky and the depth of field for the trees work more in this image. Will some clouds in the sky and the depth of field for the trees work more in this image? I found the trees to be pretty far away for depth of field, honestly. And as for the clouds, surely, but not too many, actually, because you already have enough elements to look at. You have the very fragmented facade of this building. You have those different groups of people being gathered down here. We have some depot shades here in the front. We have the trees. So if we also have clouds in the sky, I think it can get overloaded pretty fast. So I think it was a good idea to get rid of clouds and just depict a simple blue sky in this specific situation. And talking about said blue sky and the lighting in general, is that first of all, the lighting, it makes sure that we have the dark foreground, which is again leading the viewer's eye towards the areas that are more brightly lit and that have more contrast to them, like the areas down here, which is the right thing to do. And secondly, let's analyze this bold saturated sky that Amit was talking about. To me, the boldness and the saturation of the blue color here makes the sky look very, very energetic in a way that is providing the image with very positive, optimistic, and dynamic mood, which in my opinion, very much suits this campus, because campus is where youth is, where future is. These are the young people that are, any country's future. So having this energetic scene around them makes a lot of sense, and I really like this. I see Abdi has a long list of lighting recommendations. I don't know if I will be reading them all. He says, just in case some of you are interested, here are some lighting recommendations I received from a professional photographer that should work for the most indoor scenes, and I thought I'd share them with you as well, since they can really make a difference in your render results. Oh, I won't be reading all of them, but definitely make sure to check out this one, because these are important, and especially when they come up from a professional photographer. What we try to do with our work is simulate photography, so learning from photographers is makes a lot of sense, right? Kama says, I only use V-Ray Sun for illuminations. Well, and that's absolutely enough in my opinion. So yeah, but now let's talk about the foreground. Luckily, Kama, you made this video on the foreground. I wasn't able to play it anytime I wanted it. Let's hope it works now, and people will be able to see it. You already posted it in a group, but yeah, let's analyze this. So you see the raw render is actually pretty rudimentary when it comes to its foreground, right? Its grass isn't even real grass, it's just a flat texture. So what Kama does first is he takes care of the sky, and then tunes up the render itself, brightening it up, fixing the contrasts, and this is where the video got stuck, because Facebook is trying to make my life hard today for whatever reason, I don't know. So yeah, we were somewhere here. I hope it gets further than this. If not, you have to imagine the rest. Yeah, but anyway, what comes next here, what Kama does next is he starts working on the foreground with matte painting. Why? Because multiple reasons, actually. First of all, it's quick. Instead of setting up different scatters, trying out interactive renders, spending a hell of a lot of time with rendering, if it's not a vantage scene, okay, but let's say it's a Corona or a V-Ray scene, which was the case here, if I recall correctly, he can just cut out this part of some, random photo and just place it atop of his scene in Photoshop, and it's done immediately. Also, it's flexible. If he doesn't like this specific meadow, he can just replace it for a different one. And of course, in the end, it is also more realistic, because this is an actual photo, contrary to some rendered grass, right? And then obviously the video will make problems here, so you won't be able to see it. You can view it in the group. But yeah, afterwards he starts putting down different groups of people here, the trees as well, and then we end up with this image here. Kama says, Theo, the problem with matte painting is to find the right images. Yes, of course, in the meantime, earlier when you did matte painting, you had to really just Google images. In the meantime, video decided to continue. But yeah, we already know how the final result looks like. So yeah, earlier we had to do this very manually, either shoot our own photos or go to Google and try to cut out parts of different images. In the meantime, there are actually galleries that are very much oriented towards people who do matte painting, that have even 3D Sky has images that you can buy and have some, let's say, a grass field or stuff like this. So yeah, I think that it's gotten better now. Of course, it's not a one-click solution, but it definitely has its advantages, I would say. And what counts the most in the end is that the final result looks amazing. And for me specifically, it is mostly because of this awesome foreground, which looks absolutely realistic. And once again, when you see something like this so close to the camera, then you assume that the texture on this building and the window frames are also realistic as well. So yeah, this is nice trickery that you pull here, and what counts in the end, we talked about this in the beginning of the show, what counts in the end is that the final outcome looks great. This is what we do our work for, and you achieved a very great result. Abdi says, I can fully see the usage of Photoshop and other editing software after rendering, but what I do not understand is what you would do when the same customer will ask for an animated version of the very same scene. Ever thought about this, or do your customers actually never ask for animated scenes? Of course, if this is an animated scene the client will be asking about, or if you want like very many different angles, maybe a bird view, and they all have to have a consistent look to them, then matte painting probably won't be the right path to take in this specific way. This is why for most projects, because most projects that I work on need more than one image, and this is why I don't refer to matte painting, but instead try to do almost everything within the limits of my 3D software and my render engine, so that I have the flexibility to animate, which I personally don't do, but some of my colleagues do, and be also able to take on different angles and still have very consistent contents to the images that I deliver to my client. But sometimes, especially with competitions, you have just one image. Let's say with architectural competitions, what you would usually have in a situation like this, let's say it's a campus or a school, you have like the front of it, maybe the back side, and then one or two interior shots. So why do you need to do all the scattering and all the stuff when you can easily do what Kama did here? So there isn't that one ultimate solution which solves all problems as usual. In this specific case, working on this one image, going the route of matte painting makes a lot of sense to me. But again, if it was about to get animated and stuff like this, then it wouldn't have been the right approach. But yeah, in conclusion, I found this exercise absolutely inspiring, and I really hope that the workflow depicted here and the final result that you showcased here, Kama, can motivate other artists to at least once try matte painting and see how it works out for them, or maybe at least realize how important a realistic foreground is. That would be also a win on my side. Abdi says, yeah, I fully understand it when it's just one single image. Yeah, that's the thing. Or again, it mustn't be one image, but it could be this exterior and then 3 interiors. So why not make the interior this way? And then for the interiors, you can do whatever you want. You can then do anything fully rendered, animate, and whatever you want. And actually, because it's now time to talk about inspirations, I wanted to start with something that you, Abdi, actually shared in the group. It is this Rio by Rafael Barnas from Unique Vision Studio. And the topic of it very much fits what we just talked about. It's very much about before and after when it comes to matte painting. And you shared this, and I really loved it. I find it very, very inspiring because, again, not every time you have the time to actually do everything in 3D. And if you take a closer look at the renders that you see here, I will stop it, not here, but here. Let's take a look at this render, for example, and you see that the initial raw render is actually pretty basic. It's way less advanced than most of the images that we see uploaded into or shared in the Chaos Campus Facebook group, right? So it's a very basic thing. And in the end of the day, again, when it's not about making 100 shots from this square or making animations and stuff, but just making this one very, very strong and powerful image, it's up to the artist which way they would decide to go. Some will try to do everything in 3D and then just render it out and then fix their stuff in in post-production, just some contrasts and colors. Other artists will just do a raw render, as you would see it here right now, and then they will do their magic in Photoshop. Just take a look at this. Just take a look at this scene. It became so incredibly awesome, and out of this very basic initial raw render, right? And there are tons of examples like this here. So I think that we cannot say that there is this one solution. We always need to do everything in 3D. Here we have a ton of examples like those buildings. This is how the thing started, or I actually missed the actual start because it starts even before that. This is the initial raw render, which once again isn't something very impressive. And this is something that I think everybody here today, and like 90% or 95% of the people in our group, are capable of doing. But if it ends here, unfortunately, it won't be very impressive. However, the way they continue working on it, just take a look at this. Just it becomes something absolutely mind-blowing, right? So this is why I'm sharing this with you. Let this be an inspiration. Maybe while doing your next personal project, try out matte painting, try out how far you can go with this. Lots of really, really popular architectural visualization studios, like the biggest ones, use a lot of matte painting instead of doing everything in 3D. And I'm sure that there is a reason for that. And yeah, as you can see with all these examples here, there is a very good reason for that, because the final outcome looks absolutely amazing. And as you can see, you can even animate it a bit. Obviously, it's limited, but you still have some flexibility with this. Now, I think I don't want to make the show way too long, so let's move on. We just talked about your next personal project, so I want to show you two projects that have been shared in the group recently that I really enjoyed. First one, this project by Simon. I read what he says about it. Good afternoon, friends and colleagues. I'm pleased to present Casanova, a project I have been working on for 6 months. Initially, I had difficulty deciding how to approach the landscaping. However, after seeing streets in the United States, specifically in Hollywood, I found the perfect inspiration. I know you like it. This is Confidence Man. I use the following software: 3ds Max, Corona Renderer, Photoshop and Neo, and there is a link for more images. So great description, first of all, and what's more, Casanova is a truly inspiring project. Why? First of all, because here Simon went for quality instead of quantity. So Ehsan, Ahmed, Taha, I saw you Ahmed earlier. Folks, this is what I meant as I told you that with all of your passion and all the effort that you put and all the time that you put on those small, partially unfinished scenes of yours, try to instead do something like this. Because if we go back here in the description, let's read it once again. A project I have been working on for 6 months. I don't think that he worked on it for 6 months from early morning till late evening. I think he did it next to his commercial work and private life and whatnot, hobbies. But it took its time, and it's normal, because if you take a look at this, it's a very elaborate project. Just check out the amount of detail that you see here. Just on this fairly simple looking scene, you see that it's not only the houses, the greenery and the vehicle, you also have all those small architectural details in form of, the security cameras, the charging station, the AC units, the guttering, the windows, all of this. It takes its time, and it's normal to do so. But you see, in the end of the day, if you deliver something like this, check the reactions. You see that there are more than 80 likes and people being literally amazed by what Simao delivered here. We have somebody here like Ali Reza, who is a very skilled artist when it comes to, especially to visualizing architecture, saying, hey man, nice job. So yeah, after spending those 6 months, Simao got the recognition and got the reward for his hard work. Also, why I find it inspiring is because he challenged himself. This is a very elaborate scene. He had an issue with the landscaping, but he found a solution and ended up acing it. And to me, this is absolutely highly inspiring. I already told you, Simo, just remove those very distracting curves and switch them for something more subtle, the casual gray curves, and maybe rework the scatter leaves. I think you can do better in this regard. But apart from this, this is an amazing project, and I would be proud if this was a part of my portfolio. Really, thumbs up, great. Now, but if you think, well, okay, he has 6 months to put into this, and this is like a huge project, can only huge projects be impressive? No, not really. Let me show you the next one. It's Janita's project, which I also find to be really inspiring. This is why I show it to you today. For a different reason. It's called Wabi Sabi, and he describes it like this. Hello everyone, here I am presenting another personal practice project of mine, done in 3ds Max and Chaos Corona. Materials and textures are from Quixel, post-production in Photoshop. There is a link to the reference image, and the suggestions for the improvements are welcome, thank you. Another great description, by the way. But why is this inspiring? So obviously it has some great lighting, wonderful looking materials, great compositions. Of course, you can say, yeah, it's made after a reference, so what's so special about it? Well, I think it's a great example of the fact that if you do a scene, even if it's a very simple one, a very simple scene, it can still be fascinating as long as it is perfectly executed. So, of course, if we compare to Simo's work, with Simo's work, the scale of this thing alone is fascinating, and you just take a look at it and you're like, wow, this looks so realistic and so authentic and stuff like this. Well, in the case of Janita's work, this cannot be the case. Every imperfection, everything that doesn't look good here will immediately stick out like a sore thumb. So you need, if you do something small, which is absolutely legit, you don't always have 6 months to work on a exercise project. Sometimes you just maybe want to do a daily exercise. Then everything about it needs to be perfect, and then it can still be fascinating. And also, I'll do something which I actually never do. I will show you Janita's private page. I hope he doesn't mind it. And why I do this exception is because of an observation of mine. And you see, Janita, as you see here in his profile, he is doing a lot of photography and videos with drone, with phone, with a 360 camera. And I saw the moment, because we're Facebook friends, as I am with a lot of you, I saw the moment where he took on photography. And what I saw is that soon after, his renders started getting way better. Now, obviously, this is an assumption, but do you see any connection here? Because I absolutely do. Training your photography skills usually results in making better renderings. This is just something that I have seen time and time again, and here you see it once again. But yeah, let's leave Janita's page, and also let me show you a different type of inspiration. It's Seper's work, it's an Airbnb room. Why is it inspiring? Well, let me read what he writes. For me, one of the most beautiful moments is seeing the implementation of the design in reality based on my design. Designing simple spaces that can be understood by everyone is very enjoyable because you're facing a challenge and limitation, but you have to create a beautiful scene. It's an Airbnb room design that, as you will see now, this is his design. So he designed the room, he made the concept for it, he visualized his idea next, and then he used those visualizations to convince his client. And in the final phase, okay, let me just reduce the sound. In the final phase, he saw the implementation of his concept. This is what you see in this video here. And believe me, I believe him because I have experienced this myself. Seeing your design getting implemented, it's something that absolutely, truly feels amazing. And this is why I decided to share this with you, something inspirational, how Seper started with an idea, concept, turned it into a concept, visualized that concept, refined that concept, convinced the client, and now it is getting built, and he will be able to probably, I don't know, maybe have a stay in his own designed Airbnb room at some point. I think this is pretty amazing. The next thing that I want to show you as an inspirational thing is actually different type of inspiration, because it's a story about improvement. And I want to show you this classic scene by Monique. She shared this one yesterday, and why is it inspiring? Well, maybe to answer this, let me show you her first project that she shared in the group. It has been shared in the end of March this year, and it looked like this. So I won't say it's bad by any means, but I think that, wait, let me just pause this video here because it started buffering again. I won't say this is bad by any means, but I think we can all agree that here the lighting is kind of flat, the compositions are partially a bit off, the close-ups aren't really that convincing or attractive to look at, and there is this general lack of strong atmosphere. Now let's take this shot from the end of March and compare it to this one in the beginning of August. And I don't think I need to say more. It's an entirely different quality that we see here, and it looks amazing. Also, take a look at the close-up, way better to look at. So yeah, is it perfect? No, but it's so much better. And the best thing about it is I wanted to let Monique know how much better she has gotten, how much she has improved, and I'm really proud of her. And what she answered is something that I want to share with you. She said, "Thank you. I improved this much because of this group and reflecting from the feedbacks I got from my previous posts. It's really amazing to be a part of this community." And I cannot agree more. And this is something that doesn't only concern me. I haven't been the only one who has provided Monique with feedbacks. I know Amit did. If we go back to this project, we also see Nico giving feedback. I think Danushka, and certainly I forget others, but yeah, it was a collective effort, and it paid out. So this is another example of the power of feedback. Since the beginning of the show, we have seen a few situations where artists listen to the feedback and improve immensely. You remember Georgi's work, Seraphim, Takur as well. Well, now we have Monique. So time and time again, we see how important feedback is, and also not only the feedback itself, but also listening to it and thinking about it, analyzing the feedback, and trying to implement everything that's been said to you in your next work. It actually pays off, and you just need to compare those two projects, put them next to each other, and then you see what I'm talking about. This is absolutely clear evidence. And last but not least for today, because we are already over 2 hours, I want to show you Alessio's project. It's called Casa M101. Also, he shared it yesterday. Why is it inspiring? Well, let me read what he writes about it. Hi guys. As anticipated last week, I finished my personal project. This time I took an existing architecture. It's called Casa M101. This house is located in the south of Italy in Puglia, surrounded by nature. I tried some different light for almost every shoot, trying to create at least some good image. I hope you all like them. The project starts as a series of other personal projects that I intend to carry on. This is to reproduce Italian architectures, at least 3 or 4 per year, and then share the 3D file. Please listen carefully. Then share the 3D file of the building to then allow the community to create new images from it and then compare them between us. The images were as usual made in Cinema 4D and Corona 12 and a bit of a post-production in Photoshop. I'll leave you some sites with the references of the project and the position in the Google Maps. Awesome. Here is the link for the FBX file of the model. I hope it is not too badly modeled. It is the first time I make a model to share with other people. So why is it inspiring? Well, first of all, not only is this an amazing lighting study, again showcasing the power of scene illumination. Let's take a look at this shot, for example. You see it looks like a storm is incoming, and you see how this house, the interior here, is lit up warmly, like it is a safe haven, a safe harbor for you to go in and be safe from the storm. So this is one story this lighting is telling. Here we have a different story. We have those overhanging roofs. Hello Alessio, talking about your work right now. Glad to see you here. So yeah, here we have those overhanging roofs, obviously midday, strong sunlight, and then we have the shadows here and the roofs providing some shelter from the strong sunlight. This one, obviously, it doesn't work, even though it is my favorite one. This was a very nice summer shot, which I really liked. It was more about nature. And then we have this other one, this fourth shot from this perspective, which is again a different story because it's more about this evening, the nature, the power of nature and everything. And it's really a very strong shot. Then we have some further shots from the side. Generally, I'm not such a huge fan of those because while the grass looks great seen from this very low perspective, screw you Facebook, from this perspective, all those gaps don't look that realistic. Background's pretty cool though. And yeah, then we have other shots that Facebook doesn't want to show us now. This one, I really like it. It looks very natural, has a very high authenticity to it. This one, this is my favorite. It's from the backside of the building. It's this small terrace with this wooden, or I think it's even a stone bench with a grill next to it. It's so easy to imagine just sitting there with friends or your family or alone, grilling something and having a good time. And with the shadow of those small trees and the composition and the depth of field, it's a great shot. So, but it's not only this. It's all in all, it's a huge project, a bit similar to what Simao did on the first project that we talked about today. So yeah, there are enough points for this project to be inspiring already, but as if it wasn't enough, Alessio also decided to actually share his model with the community. And I downloaded the OBJ file yesterday, or the FBX file, where is it? Sorry, yesterday, and tried it out, and it works absolutely fine. You can see how the geometry looks like. The cameras are also in there. You can see some of the cameras that we just saw. And yeah, the geometry is great. I think this is an absolutely great model to experiment with because we don't need to do the modeling phase. We can immediately concentrate on the texturing one. Also, in terms of layers, everything is one layer. However, there is hierarchy, which is nicely sorted. So you can comfortably work with this file. And once again, what you can do with it is you can immediately go into the texturing, into lighting experiments. It's a wonderful scene to try out Vantage, for example, or Inkscape for that matter. And also, as you saw, Alessio shared also a ton of links about the house itself, its location, its the way it looks like if you decide to recreate a certain house. But of course, you don't have to. You can just use the model to create something entirely new of your own. And to me, this is something absolutely amazing, a very awesome community-oriented move from him. So Alessio, my friend, big up to you. Thanks for sharing this. It's really appreciated. I really hope that the group members make use of it and generally this idea that you started of sharing models among each other, like not the downloaded assets because we are not allowed to share those, but something that we maybe created for an exercise, or maybe a piece of furniture that we created for like a simple table for an interior, that we just share it with the others. I think this is something that the community profits a ton from, and I just love the idea of it. As I already told you, I had also made a scene which I wanted to share. It was just a quick exercise I did within a few hours, and then I wanted to share the scene with the community, but it felt just too simplistic, so I left it. But what you're sharing here is this awesome house, and Nobody can now complain that they don't have the time to build something, because here the structure is already being built. All they need to do is, not that it is not a lot of work, but still a big part of the work is already being done. Now people can go and experiment with texturing, materials, lighting, and all the other important aspects of our work. Alessio says, hoping to see some images after the summer ends. It will be amazing. I also hope the same. I also wanted to do something small out of my garden and also share it with the community, in hopes that people can just get those models and start experimenting with them. And the community is just moving forward because of this. So yeah, once again, big thanks to you, big up to you. Great initiative that you've started here. And I hope this isn't the last model that we get this way. And I think with this great project, it is time to wrap up today's session. Remember, there won't be a show in 2 weeks because of a hopefully deserved summer vacation for Keeping It Realistic. So the next episode, Abdi says there could be a competition using that free model from Alessio. Well, I don't want to force anyone, but I really strongly encourage you all to actually use this model and do your own stuff with it. See what you can turn it into. Obviously, all the assets aren't in it. We're not allowed to give those assets to others. But yeah, you have a very, very solid foundation to work with. And again, I think this is also an amazing scene to try out Vantage, because, Vantage doesn't have an issue with large scenes, with, let's say, a lot of greenery, animated trees, grasses, whatever. So yeah, use it, please do, because this is great. And yeah, back to the next episode. So next Tuesday, August 20th at 4 p.m. there will be this webinar about lighting with V-Ray, and no show. So the next episode 35, will be on Tuesday, September 3rd. I'll be missing you, but I also am happy that I will have some small vacation. I gotta admit this. Yeah, Amit says it was a nice show, good projects, nice valuable feedbacks, and nice share of knowledge from Abdi and others. Keep up the good work, folks. Abdi says, thanks a ton for sharing, Alessio. Yeah, thanks a ton for me as well. And as always, folks, it was a pleasure hanging out with you. Have a good month of August, and I hope to see you again, healthy and energized, motivated, and inspired in 4 weeks. Until then, yeah, time for a vacation. So yeah, let me show myself once again. Stay safe, be healthy. It's always a pleasure with you. I have some further ideas about the show that I will be thinking a lot about during this vacation. Obviously, my vacation doesn't start now. It will start in 2 weeks, actually, when the next show should have happened. Until then, I have a ton of commercial work to deal with. But during this time, I will be thinking about a slightly different concept for the show that will be a bit more useful to you, and also maybe make the shows a bit shorter. So yeah, again, it was awesome. Mariana says, great job, Theo, as always. Thank you very much. Abdi, thanks a ton, Theo. Great show as usual. Enjoy your holidays. Amit says, give a reminder of V-Ray webinar 2 days prior, if possible, in the group. I'll gladly do so. Thanks, folks. Stay safe, be healthy, rock on, and I'll see you again in 4 weeks. Bye. It was a pleasure.